The story unfolds in the year 2028, when OmniCorp, a powerful global corporation, has transformed modern warfare by unleashing robotic enforcers designed to uphold law and order. As the film begins, charismatic TV host Pat Novak launches an episode of The Novak Element with a bold claim. Every nation on Earth, except the United States, is locked down under the watchful eyes of OmniCorp's robotic patrols. The reason? The controversial Dreyfus Act, which strictly bans the use of armed robots on American soil. Novak fires off a provocative question to Pentagon officials. How can crime be crushed worldwide? The officials push back, warning that robots are unreliable and prone to dangerous errors. But Novak scoffs at their concerns and rolls a live feed of OmniCorp's machines in action. On screen, towering droids and sleek bots sweep through the streets, scanning civilians with eerie precision. Inside a dimly lit house, a man orchestrates a deadly plan. He recruits a group of suicide bombers to blow themselves up on live television, hoping to stir public outrage against the droids. The attack begins with chaos and firepower. Though the bombers are swiftly eliminated by the robotic enforcers, they manage to destroy a few machines in the process. Suddenly, the leader's young son bursts out of the house, clutching a knife. One of the droids locks onto him, identifies him as a threat, and fires, killing the boy instantly. The entire horrifying moment is captured by the media crew broadcasting the event live. Despite the bloodshed, Novak presses on with his show, praising the droids for their swift response. He insists that OmniCorp's CEO, Sellers, is absolutely right to push for deploying these machines across the U.S. But not everyone agrees. Senator Dreyfus stands firmly against it, having passed the Dreyfus Act to block this kind of robotic policing. Novak wraps up the segment by asking why America is so robust. In the heart of Detroit, Detective Alex Murphy strides into a tense meeting with Chief Karen Dean. Inside her office, fellow officers John Lake and Andre Daniels stand by as the chief lays into Murphy over last night's chaos. Murphy and his partner Lewis had clashed with thugs tied to notorious crime lord Antoine Valensic, dead, and Lewis left critically wounded. Once Lake and Daniels exit, Murphy begins to recount the harrowing events to the chief, and the story plunges into a flashback. Murphy and Lewis had been deep undercover, trying to dismantle a pipeline of illegal firearms flooding the streets. Disguised as buyers, they grilled a shady dealer who casually revealed he worked for Valen. When the detectives ran the serial numbers on the weapons, they uncovered a bombshell. These guns were supposed to be locked away in the police evidence room. That meant one thing: dirty cops were in Valen's pocket. Despite knowing the risks, Murphy and Lewis headed to a restaurant to confront Valen directly and negotiate over the weapons. At first, everything seemed calm. But just as the deal was about to close, someone tipped Valen off over the phone, exposing the detectives' true identities. Without a word, Valen slipped away from the table and unleashed his men to strike. Moments later, cars screeched to a halt outside the restaurant, and a wave of gunmen armed to the teeth stormed in, unleashing a hail of bullets. Murphy and Lewis fired back with their pistols, dodging gunfire as bodies dropped around them. After a brutal shootout, Murphy managed to escape through the chaos. Lewis was about to follow when a hidden attacker burst out from the kitchen and shot him in the shoulder. Murphy rushed to his side, refusing to leave until paramedics arrived. Valen, slippery as ever, vanished into the night. Back in the present, Chief Dean firmly tells Murphy she'd take care of the fallout herself. Meanwhile, OmniCorp's slick CEO, Raymond Sellers, lands in Detroit and heads straight into a strategy session with his marketing team. He's frustrated, wondering how they can possibly sway stubborn senators to approve the use of droids. Then, he pitches a bold idea: fuse man and machine into one living prototype, a walking, breathing symbol of robotic justice. Sellers wastes no time and rushes to the OmniCorp Rehab Center, where Dr. Dennett Norton is helping a patient whose arms have been replaced with sleek robotic limbs. Just as Norton finishes up, Sellers pulls him aside to discuss candidates for the man-in-a-machine experiment. They comb through a list of amputee police veterans, but Norton shuts each option down. Either their bodies aren't compatible, or their minds aren't stable enough to handle the transformation. Meanwhile, a dark twist unfolds. It's revealed that Officers Lake and Daniels, the ones who sat in Chief Dean S. office earlier, are the traitors who sold Murphy out to Vallon. At a dimly lit bar, they meet with the crime boss, who scolds them for not warning him sooner. Vallon toys with the idea of bribing Murphy to keep him quiet, but the crooked cops suggest a more permanent solution: take him out. Vallon agrees and orders one of his men to rig Murphy's car with a bomb, planting it in the driver's side wheel well that very afternoon, while Murphy is at the hospital visiting his wounded partner, Lewis. Later that night, Murphy returns home to his wife, Clara, and their 10-year-old son. After tucking their boy into bed, Murphy and Clara begin to share a quiet, intimate moment until the car alarm blares outside. It's a trap. Drawn out by the noise, Murphy steps into the dark, and boom, the car explodes in a fiery blast. Murphy is left barely alive, suffering fourth-degree burns across his entire body. Doctors are forced to amputate both legs and one arm to save him. Dr. Norton and his team see a grim opportunity. Murphy is the perfect candidate for their experimental man-in-a-machine program. They approach Clara, urging her to sign off on the procedure. Though deeply worried about what kind of life her husband will have, she agrees. 3 months later, Murphy appears to be at a party with Clara. But it's only a memory. Dr. Norton is watching the footage as his team finalizes Murphy's new robotic body. They wake him up and Murphy is horrified by what he's become. In a panic, he bolts from the lab, desperate to escape. But Norton quickly shuts him down and hauls him back. Once stabilized, Norton lays out the brutal truth. The only parts of Murphy's human body that remain are his head, heart, lungs, and right hand. Overwhelmed and disgusted, Murphy begs to be allowed to die. But Norton reminds him Clara gave her consent, and if they let him go now, everything they've built will be wasted. Murphy is thrown into intense training to get familiar with his new system. His trainer demonstrates how the suit reacts to danger, automatically drawing a weapon when needed. Murphy is then placed in a simulator room beside a droid, and it's not pretty. He struggles to keep up, failing to match the machine's speed and precision. To fix this, Dr. Norton tweaks Murphy's programming, allowing robotic instincts to take control, while making Murphy believe the decisions are his own. Once simulator training wraps up, Murphy moves on to the real test field combat. He faces off against his trainer, now armored in an exoskeleton, backed by a squad of robots. Murphy charges through gunfire like a machine possessed, dodging bullets and taking down his opponents with ease. Norton and Sellers watch closely from above. Norton quietly explains that Murphy isn't truly in control. He is just following commands embedded in his system. The reprogramming has made him faster, sharper, but stripped away his empathy. That night, Murphy visits Clara and their son to check on them. His new appearance stuns them, but love wins out and they embrace him. Soon after, the city prepares for a grand reveal. RoboCop is ready for the spotlight. At the press conference, Murphy stands tall as Norton secretly uploads the entire police database into his system, including the details of Murphy's own attempted murder. The shock is too much. Murphy begins to seize, overwhelmed by the flood of information. To stabilize him, Norton suppresses Murphy's emotions, locking away his human reactions. Murphy enters the ceremony, but he's cold, unable to show any feeling toward Clara or their son. As he steps onto the stage, the crowd falls silent. RoboCop begins scanning faces, searching for criminals. Suddenly, he locks onto a man wanted for murder. The suspect bolts, but RoboCop fires a taser round straight into his back, dropping him instantly. Novak wastes no time spinning the recent incident into a rallying cry on his show. He highlights that the man Murphy captured had slipped through police hands for 6 long years, wanted for rape, assault, and murder. Yet RoboCop nailed him in under 60 seconds. The public starts buzzing, and suddenly the Dreyfus Act doesn't seem so sacred anymore. Support for deploying droids begins to surge. Meanwhile, Clara senses something deeply wrong. Her husband is emotionally vacant. Sellers, aware she's asking too many questions, orders Norton to keep her away from Murphy. But Clara refuses to be shut out. She confronts Murphy, her voice trembling as she tells him about their son's nightmares, his withdrawal, and how he barely responds anymore. Murphy stands silent. but something stirs inside him. Later, unable to shake her words, Murphy taps into CCTV footage and watches in horror as reporters harass Clara and their son while she tries to walk him to school. The sight hits him hard. Realizing how far he's drifted from his family, Murphy speeds back to the place where everything changed, the site of the car bombing. He combs through the security footage, watching the explosion frame by frame. And then the gut punch. His son was there. The boy saw everything his father engulfed in flames. Murphy learns the trauma left his son with PTSD, and the weight of that truth crushes him. Fueled by rage and betrayal, Murphy sets his sights on Valen's gang. He's done playing defense. He tracks down Valen's warehouse and speeds toward it on his motorcycle. But someone tips off Valen, and the crime boss scrambles to prepare. His men grab their weapons, kill the lights, and slip on night vision goggles, hoping to blind Murphy and throw off his aim. As Murphy crashes through the warehouse doors in a blaze of fury, gunfire erupts. Bullets rip through the air, striking his suit and shattering his visor. But Murphy doesn't back down. He tears through Valen's crew with brutal precision, mowing down every last gunman. Valen is the final target. And Murphy doesn't hesitate. He guns him down, ending the reign of a man who nearly destroyed his life. After the dust settles, Murphy picks up a weapon from one of the fallen thugs and scans it for fingerprints. The results hit Hardlake and Daniels. Without wasting time, he heads back to the police station, joined by his old partner, Lewis. Inside, Murphy confronts the traitors face to face. He lays out the evidence, exposing their role in his attempted murder and their alliance with Valen. Daniels panics. His career is crumbling. In desperation, he pulls a gun on Murphy. But Murphy reacts instantly and shoots him down. Lake, shaken, confesses the unthinkable. Chief Dean was involved in the restaurant ambush and the car bombing. Murphy stuns Lake with a taser and storms off to confront the chief. But just as he's about to get the truth from her lips, his trainer, watching from a remote facility, shuts him down. Murphy collapses mid-interrogation, silenced before justice can be served. On a fresh episode of the Novak Element, Novak dives into the latest bombshell. Murphy has exposed deep-rooted corruption inside the police force. He uses the moment to push harder for robotic law enforcement, claiming it's finally time to unleash the machines onto the streets. The public listens, and the pressure builds. Meanwhile, Sellers plays a darker game. He orders his team to release a statement claiming Murphy is in critical condition. But it's all a setup. Sellers wants to turn Murphy into a martyr, hoping the wave of sympathy will crush the Dreyfus Act once and for all. Behind the scenes, he sends a kill squad to finish Murphy off and prepares to lie to Clara, telling her that her husband didn't survive. One of Sellers' men shows up at Clara's home, calmly escorting her and her son to a meeting with the CEO. But things take a sharp turn. Dr. Norton races into the facility where Murphy is being held, breathless and panicked. He warns Murphy that mercenaries are closing in, sent by Sellers to wipe them both out. Murphy jolts awake just in time. As the goons raise their weapons, he strikes first, taking them down before they can fire a single shot. Norton survives, and Murphy proves he's not going down without a fight. Murphy roars toward OmniCorp headquarters on his motorcycle, ready for war. He's not alone. Lewis has rallied the SWAT team to back him up. Outside the building, Murphy tases a guard, forcing the rest to freeze in fear. Then, in a jaw-dropping move, he flips his motorcycle straight into the lobby, grabbing the attention of two droids. They open fire, but Murphy tricks them into blasting each other to pieces. Just when it seems clear, a third droid drops from above and traps Murphy's left arm beneath its massive frame. More droids swarm in. Murphy grabs a machine gun and bam! Blows off his own arm to break free. But the reinforcements are relentless, and they shoot him down, leaving him incapacitated. Lewis bursts in like a hero, shielding Murphy with his own body. His brave move gives Murphy the chance to escape. But Sellers' goons aren't far behind. They catch up and unleash a storm of bullets. A brutal fight breaks out. Just as the lead goon is about to finish Murphy off, Lewis fires a perfect shot, saving his partner. He takes a bullet in the process. But it's not fatal. Murphy races to the rooftop where Sellers is waiting for his getaway helicopter. Clara and their son are there too, surrounded by mercenaries. Murphy commands the mercenaries to stand down and they obey. He tries to arrest Sellers for the attempted murder. But there's a catch. Sellers is wearing a red asset bracelet, which blocks Murphy's programming from harming him. Sellers smirks and raises his gun first at Murphy, then at Clara and their son. That's the breaking point. Murphy summons every ounce of willpower and overrides his programming. He shoots Sellers, who fires back in a final act of defiance. As Sellers collapses, Clara and their son rush to Murphy's side. The movie closes with one last episode. The president has reinstated the Dreyfus Act after Norton's explosive testimony against OmniCorp. But Novak isn't backing down. He keeps praising Sellers and slamming Norton, still clinging to his pro-robot stance.